what have been some of the challenges for you guys here early on, adding two into the mix right away after your first?
Well, straight up to the hurricane, like in the middle of the night, 2 in the morning, no one can sleep. If they're both crying at the same time, me and my wife are up. Of course, my wife does the most of it because she's feeding them right now. But that's the hardest time. Another challenging time is when we're all home together and my 3-year-old son wants to play. I'm holding one baby, my wife's holding the other baby, and Samson's like, "Can you put the baby down so we can, have a dance party?" And those are the moments that you're like, that's really hard. But I have to remind myself too that like he actually got 3 years uninterrupted with both of us. Um, you know, at those moments when I'm like, am I giving it up to my oldest son right now? But those are the hard moments.
What's doing, everybody? Welcome to First Class Fatherhood. I'm Alec Lace, and before I hit you with today's interview, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the link in the description so you can listen to all of the interviews I've done with so many tremendous dads, including Dana White, Deion Sanders, Tony Hawk, and so many others. Now let's get going with today's interview. Joining me now, First Class Father Joshua Henry. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you, Alec. Pleasure to be here with you.
All right, let's start right here. How many kids do you have, and how old are they?
So I got 3 kids. Eldest is Samson. He's 3 years old. And then we have 10-week-old twins, both boys. So 3 boys. The boys are names Max and Leo.
Wow, yeah, congratulations on the twins there. I know you got your hands full. You guys, I know it's maybe too early for this yet. You guys considering going for the girl, or are you guys all done?
No, no, we're all done. We got 3 kids. We got the multiples, which we didn't expect, and none in my family, none in Catherine's, my wife's family. So, as much as we would like to have a girl, I think we're all done.
All right, sounds good. Hey, Joshua, if you could please just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
So, a lot of people know me for doing Broadway. I've been in about 9 different Broadway shows here in New York City, where I live. Shows like Hamilton, In the Heights, Porgy and Bess. Um, I I am a recording artist. I just released an EP called Guaranteed very recently, a couple months ago. And yeah, I'm passionate about my family. I'm passionate about art, and I'm passionate about growth and integrating all of those things to try to just be more whole and more kind and gentle with myself. I think I used to have a really hard nosed approach on life, and I'm really still very focused. But I think having kids makes you understand it's a lot bigger than just one dream and one destination. And this whole thing is a growth journey for me, so I'm excited to be on it.
Yeah, very well said, Joshua. And then, for me and my wife, we have 4 kids. Going from 2 to 3 was the most challenging for us. I mean, with that first year going from 2 to 3 felt like one long day. You guys went from 1 to 3 in one shot here. So, what have been some of the challenges for you guys here early on, adding two into the mix right away after your first?
You know, um, well, straight up to the hurricane, like in the middle of the night, 2 in the morning. When you're out, no one can sleep. If they're both crying at the same time, me and my wife are up. Of course, my wife does the most of it because she's feeding them right now. But that's the hardest time. Another challenging time is when we're all home together and my 3-year-old son wants to play. I'm holding one baby, my wife's holding the other baby, and Samson's like, "Can you put the baby down so we can, have a dance party?" And those are the moments that you're like, that's really hard. But I have to remind myself too that like he actually got 3 years uninterrupted with both of us. Um, at those moments when I'm like, am I giving it up to my oldest son right now? But those are the hard moments.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like I said, with the 4 of them, one of the most important things I try to do is spend the individual time with each one of them because I know how important it is to them. And so even if it's just a 10-minute walk to the bodega or just a ride to the supermarket, whatever it is, it's crucial for them. And it's just such a minor thing for me to do. So me and my wife try to make it a point, to get that one-on-one time with each one of them.
That's a really great idea. And I love the way you put it. Like, sometimes it's just a 10-minute walk, maybe just like a walk around the block, just one on one. It doesn't have to be like a whole trip to Disney World to make the child feel special. It's about just that those little quality moments that you can that you can have. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's us. It just seems like such a minor thing, but to them, it's like their whole day. Like they got this one-on-one time, so we don't see it through their eyes. But what would you say, Joshua, are the top values that you're hoping to instill in your boys growing up?
I think for me, I want, well, for Catherine and I want him to be mindful. I want him to be aware that there is a power that is higher than him. You know, for us, that's God, and that's synonymous with a lot of different things. But just that he's connected to something endless and limitless, and that he's a part of that and has access to that. So I want to give him a sense of a higher power, something outside of his five senses. And one of the things that we do in the mornings is we just take a couple breaths together, you know, as a family, and just sit and then say, you know, God's presence is here, peace is here, harmony is here. So I want to give him a sense of him, of who he is outside of what he sees, outside of what the world says, outside of, you know, what happens on the playground, you know. So that's sort of like the groundwork that we set. And of course, you know, just like basic affirmations, things like I ask him, "Who are you, Samson?" And now he's getting to the point where he's like, "I'm kind, I'm smart, I'm honest, I'm brave, and I am loved." I starts to really put an understanding around that. It just will bolster his confidence, and wherever avenue life takes him, if he can just go into life with those core things, I'm happy.
Yeah, very well said, Joshua. All right, and then bringing it into what you do here. Obviously, the pandemic, Joshua, has turned the world upside down. Nowhere was it more affected probably than in New York City. It was like seemed to be like the focal point of this thing. Obviously, Broadway and so many other industries just got destroyed here. What was it like for you being in, Broadway actor, entertainment? What was it? What was it like for you to go through this pandemic, and then also having twins adding to your family during this entire time? What was it all like for you?
You know, Alec, it was really challenging in the middle of 2020 when everything just kind of went boom, because it's like the rug gets pulled out from under you. You know, I had done a show. I had a movie on the books. I had a show that I was going to film. This is all last year, and everything just stopped. And I immediately got to this point where I was just emotionally exhausted. My wife was at work; she's a nurse. You know, it's the height of the pandemic, so there's that concern. So I'm here at home with my little toddler, and I really had to just go to the foundations of what I really know. Like, who am I and whose am I? You know, I'm a father. I've got my son here. You know, I care for, he's looking at me with an expectation that I'm going to take care of him. So I'm a caregiver. If I'm a caregiver, that means there must be care around. I am, connected to some source of care. And then from there, I just go up to the food chain, and everything for me kind of spiritually leads upward to the higher power. So I think just, you know, and on a practical level, Alec, it was just like pick up the guitar for 15 minutes a day and practice, you know, and or try to write one stanza of a lyric for an album, you know, and that last year started to, you know, avalanche into 3 months of just some of the most focused work that I've ever had to put into my first EP. So you know, when you add kids into the mix, it can just feel so overwhelming at times because they're looking at you just like, well, what do we do now? And so there's your identity, as you know, before your identity as a father, but then there's how you want them to see you, putting your passion into the world because that's what they're going to do. So, you know, it was hard. It was really hard. And I think it was just taking it step by step and building confidence and momentum artistically and spiritually that kind of got me back afloat.
Yeah, great stuff, Joshua. Yeah, I've had several Broadway actors on here: Robert Creighton from Frozen, and then James Schneider from Harry Potter. I've had them on the show. I love going to Broadway. It's a big part of the experience, especially New York. So hopefully here we're set to go back in September, which would be great to do. So it'd be awesome to see. Has your son? Have you taken him? I know the twins obviously too young yet, but have you taken your son to any Broadway plays? Has he gotten to experience the theater yet?
No, not yet, because you know last year he just turned 3 March 19th, and but I think maybe there's some maybe the Lion King. He loves the Lion King, so when things come back, at that point he'll be closer to 4, and I think he'll just sing along with Hakuna Matata and all his favorite songs. His favorite song is "Can You Feel the Love Tonight." He'll just wake up like belting it at the top of his lungs. So maybe the Lion King will be the first. And what's really exciting is he's been able to see some YouTube clips of me performing. It's like, that's you, Daddy, and he tried to like just do all my different moves and sing the high notes, and so that's been cool to experience
Yeah, very cool.
before
Now,
he can experience it.
how about as far as bedtime with the twins and with your 3-year-old here now? Are you hitting them with songs from the new album? Are you hitting them with some Broadway tunes? Are you a lullaby guy, book reader? How do you kind of get them down to bed? How does bedtime look like for you?
Bedtime, you know what? Like 20 minutes before bedtime, Samson loves the first original song I released is called "Hold Me." So he has this whole thing where he's just like sprinting up and down the hall, and he just jumps into my arms, and I lift him up real high, and he does that for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. He loves the song "Hold Me." He just that's our routine before bedtime, and then a little bath time, and you round it out with some good old Barney, some "I Love You, You Love Me." I mean, it's a classic, right?
Yeah, good stuff.
So that's our last 20 minutes of the day.
What about as far? I know he's only 3 yet, but how about as far as discipline goes, Josh? Were you a spanker, timeout guy? How do you kind of handle discipline, and is that different than the discipline style you grew up with?
Good question. I grew up as getting spanked, and that's what I knew. And so did my wife. And now we're having that conversation. He really respects our voice, and is a pretty obedient child. I mean, we haven't had that terrible twos or anything. He'll have a tantrum every now and again, but for us right now, it's just speaking very directly to him and looking him in the face. Um, but I don't know. There might be a time, so we haven't gotten to timeout or spanking. We're having that conversation now. It's kind of the thing where like, what worked for you? Like, do you just go ahead and apply that? So I like the way I grew up. I think it did really well for me, and I stayed in line most of the time. So the answer is I'm not sure which one of those we're going to use. Still on the table.
Yeah, hey, listen,
What's
my
for
oldest.
you? What?
I was going to say my oldest is 15, and we're still still learning as they go. So it's different for each kid responds differently to discipline. So one thing we've done is we've used I think it's Chapman who wrote it, the 5 love languages. I know a lot of times people they use that for married couples, but it's also something a really good tool to use for your kids to kind of learn their love language too as you go along the process of trying to figure out how to discipline you. Because I got one son, you could spank him all day long and ain't gonna do any difference, and then I got others you could threaten to spank them, and that's enough to set them straight. So it's definitely it's still a learning process as we go, just hitting the teenage years here and stuff like that. So we're still getting prepared as we go along.
I feel like, yeah, I love that book, by the way. Like for Catherine and I, that's been just a huge, our relationship changed. I actually hadn't thought about, I'm glad you mentioned that, applying it to your kids, because the same goes through for, how they want to be loved, how you discipline them. So I'm really glad you said that. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a useful tool for for us. So, and how about Joshua? I know obviously the game has changed a lot here in the entertainment industry. The way people consume media, the way we record media now, everything has kind of changed. So, what kind of advice do you have for the parent out there that has a kid that's interested in a Broadway career, acting career, musical career? What kind of advice would you give to the parent out there how to steer the kids?
I would say that you have to learn to embrace um, how to film things, and the virtual aspect of this moment. Because even though things are coming back now, the virtual concerts are huge, and people realize, oh, we don't need to go to a stadium; we need to go to arena to build an audience or to put on a show. So learn how to cultivate your audience, whether that's 5 people or 20 people. And that can be tricky, with kids in the internet, but like that's a big part of the game. And the other thing I would say is at some point, you know, surround your mind with people that are doing it at a really high level, and that have the values that you want. You know, for me, I had to come to New York and find those people like Brian Stokes Mitchell, or people like Norm Lewis or Chuck Coper. These are like Broadway folks who had families, because I always saw myself with, I just didn't want to just be a good artist. I wanted to be a well-rounded one, and I always envisioned having a family. So the people that you follow on Instagram, if you're a young artist and you want to do, Broadway or film or television, follow the people doing it at a high level, but also follow the people whose lifestyle you want to mold too. You want to emulate, because it's so much more than just singing, dancing, and acting. Everyone wants to sing, dance, and act, but it's a lot more than that.
Yeah, really good stuff, Joshua. And how about as far as you hear, what kind of now that things are lightening up again, we're starting to get back to normal. What kind of plans or goals do you have here for yourself this coming year and beyond?
Well, there are a couple. I'd love to get back on Broadway. We'll see if that happens, this fall. Fingers crossed, there's a couple possibilities that I can't talk about, but that would be a really big thing. And also, I'm starting to do more concerts just around the country. July 3rd, actually, I'm going to be doing a concert at the Philly Pops, and that's at a huge, huge arena. So if you're in the Philly area and you want to come see me perform some of my original music and some cool, just up tempo, fun numbers in a huge, I think it's like 14,000 seats. So July 3rd is one concert that's coming up soon. For me, I'm trying to write more. I'm already working on my second album. I've got music that I'm going to release later on this fall. So music and some concert dates and hopefully some more Broadway this fall.
Yeah, very cool. All right, Joshua, last thing I want to hit you with here, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
I think having a kid is one of the best things that can happen to a man. Um, it makes you realize what is important. Um, you start to see life. You start to realize that someone is going to model behavior after you. So it makes you be your best self, which is what we want to be anyway. So, if you're a new father, hold on. It's hard, it's challenging, but know that this is the juicer, this is the strainer that's going to bring out the greatest stuff out of you.
Yeah, wow, very well said, Joshua. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Joshua Henry, you're a first class father all the way. And thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you, Alec. Great to talk to you.